Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a world where peace isn't merely the absence of bombs, the quiet after the fighting stops,
Right.
but a vibrant living force, something built right into the fabric of society, radiating from within each person.
Hmm. A positive state, not just a negative one.
Exactly. And what if the key to unlocking this future isn't in, like, political treaties or military might, but in something far more fundamental, something we've perhaps overlooked for centuries?
Something closer to home.
Yeah. Today, we're diving deep into an incredibly profound collection of insights, particularly from the visionary mind of Maria Montessori,
Hmm.
and her powerful, almost radical arguments that the path to a truly peaceful world runs directly through the education, the understanding, and importantly, the liberation of the child.
What's fascinating here is how Montessori's journey, it started with this deep, almost clinical study of children with special needs, right?
Right. For several years.
And then it expanded to typical preschoolers, but in the slums of Rome. And that work led her to a startling, really universal revelation that the true nature of the child held truths about human development we just hadn't recognized before.
So it wasn't just theory, it came from real observation.
Absolutely. From this intensely practical and observational foundation, she then expanded her thinking to address the most pressing human problem of her time, which was, the constant looming threat of war that plagued Europe.
Yeah, inescapable then.
And she proposed this radical yet deeply human-centered solution, one that fundamentally redefines our whole understanding of peace itself.
The sources we have today, they're a compelling blend of her later lectures and writings. They outline her passionate, what she called her crusade for education.
Crusade, yeah. Strong
Yeah.
word.
It is. And they challenge us to rethink everything we thought we knew about peace, about society, and honestly, about ourselves. Get ready for some genuine aha moments. Because this deep dive, I think it's really going to shift your perspective on how a peaceful world isn't just some utopian dream, but an imperative.
Hmm.
And it's profoundly tied to how we understand and nurture the youngest among us.
So our mission today is to thoroughly explore Montessori's bold argument that, and this is a key quote, establishing lasting peace is the work of education. All politics can do is keep us out of war.
Wow. Okay.
We'll examine her incisive critique of traditional, often kind of superficial, approaches to peace. Her startling revelation of a silent war between adult and child.
Oh,
A silent one, yes. And the emergence of what she called a superworld that makes old conflicts just obsolete.
okay.
And ultimately, how recentering society around the child's natural development can be the cornerstone of a new, truly peaceful civilization. This raises a crucial, maybe even unsettling question for all of us, What if our current understanding of peace is fundamentally flawed? And what if the real solutions lie in an entirely different, previously unexplored domain of human experience?
Okay, let's start with Montessori's own extraordinary journey, because that really laid the groundwork for these monumental ideas about peace. Her personal story gives us a really compelling shift in perspective, I think.
It really does.
Her early work, as you mentioned, was driven by this almost accidental encounter with children facing physical and mental challenges.
Right.
And she dedicated 7 intense years to observing them, studying and developing specific methods. It wasn't just a quick look, it was this foundational period of scientific observation and experiment.
Very rigorous.
And she discovered remarkable potentials in children previously just deemed uneducable.
Yeah, completely written off.
Then, in 1907, she opened the first Casa dei Bambini, the children's house in the San Lorenzo district of Rome, for typical preschoolers, but from really impoverished families.
Right, in the slums.
It seemed like a small local step, maybe, but it would unleash these enormous global implications.
And what emerged from this meticulous work, this hands-on stuff, were psychological insights into children that had just been long suppressed. Completely overlooked by traditional upbringing, both in the family and in schools.
New things we just didn't see.
Exactly. These weren't abstract theories pulled out of thin air. These were truths she had never even suspected, but they were confirmed again and again in practice.
How so?
Working with children across the most diverse cultures, countries, social strata around the world, from the ghettos of Rome to villages in India, the same patterns of development, the same unexpected capabilities emerged. It was uncanny.
Wow.
Her profound intuitive insights were hailed as genius, sure, but it was when her theories found this solid basis in verifiable, repeatable practice. That's when her philosophy as an educator and, frankly, as a philosopher truly expanded. It revealed these new, ever wider horizons for understanding human potential.
And her primary goal through all this, it seems remarkably consistent and clear. It was to awaken a new understanding of the child's true nature, their inherent potential, and their deep, often unarticulated developmental needs, especially during that critical period of early childhood.
Crucial period, yeah.
This wasn't about condemning past practices. She wasn't trying to tear everything down. It was about what she called a deep yet not destructive criticism of the past,
Hmm. Constructive criticism.
driven by this sincere, almost scientific desire to correct existing errors and construct a better, more humane way forward for society.
But then politics intervened, as it often does. By 1932, the difficulties, the rise of totalitarianism in Italy, it forced her to continue her work outside her home country.
She had to leave.
She did. And by 1934, her homeland's doors were completely shut to her. Her schools were closed by the fascist regime.
That's harsh.
Yeah. Yet her reputation, though diminished in Italy, it shone even brighter abroad. Her methods were being adopted globally.
So ironically, being pushed out spread her ideas further.
In a way, yes. And it was outside Italy, witnessing the escalating tensions leading up to World War II, that she acutely felt the immense weight of war. This human problem now gripped all of Europe, and it stirred her as deeply as the problem of early childhood had once stirred her in her youth.
It became her new focus.
It did. This period prompted a passionate search for new human truths, building on her unwavering conviction that the child must be our teacher,
The child as teacher.
and her ideas on the free, harmonious, balanced development of the individual. This ultimately led her to explore the deeper, interconnected problems of human and social development, and she began what she profoundly called her crusade in the name of education, a crusade for peace.
It still sounds a bit strange, maybe, to some listeners. What does a children's educator, even one as famous as Montessori, have to say about global peace?
Right, it seems like a leap. But as we'll see, her perspective is surprisingly radical, deeply scientific in its own way, and profoundly relevant to our struggles today in building a truly peaceful world.
So, Montessori certainly doesn't pull any punches when it comes to our common understanding of peace. She really criticizes how we usually define it. She argues that simply stopping wars isn't enough.
Not nearly enough.
In fact, she thinks it might even be a dangerous misunderstanding. Why did she feel that conventional definition was so deeply flawed?
Well, her critique is fundamental. The editors of the Italian edition of her works, they highlight this really well. Peace cannot be discussed purely from a negative standpoint.
Meaning?
Meaning, the way politics often approaches it, reducing it merely to the avoidance of war or the nonviolent resolution of conflicts between countries. That negative definition, she argues, misses the entire point.
What's missing?
The very meaning of the word peace contains a much more positive, active idea. It necessitates nothing less than the transformation of society itself, a fundamental reordering of human relations, a state of harmony and flourishing.
So not just no war, but actual positive harmony.
Exactly. Without that positive transformation, what we call peace is merely a pause, a temporary truce, or sometimes even just a form of cultural domination by the winner.
She delivers what I can only describe as a remarkable punch with this statement. The establishment of lasting peace is the work of education. All politics can do is keep us out of war.
Ooh, yeah.
That idea, it's simple but profound. It apparently brought immense hope to countries reeling from conflict across Europe. Political groups, alliances, they rallied around her belief in education and this idea that maybe children could lead us to redemption. It suggests politics, by its very nature, is insufficient for building true peace.
Indeed. She argued that the traditional understanding of peace as merely the end of hostilities or the final and stable victory of one side's objectives, it's deeply flawed and dangerous.
How so?
She uses this powerful, almost disturbing analogy. Imagine a magnificent palace filled with irreplaceable art, cultural treasures, just consumed by fire.
Okay.
When the flames finally die down and it's reduced to smoldering coals and choking smoke, the immediate disaster is over, right?
Right. The fire's out.
And this smoke, this barely breathable air, this desolate aftermath, that, she says, is the peace as commonly understood. It's the peace of a dead man, the peace of a corpse.
Wow, that's grim.
It is. She asserts that this profound misunderstanding, this mislabeling of such a grim state as peace, is precisely what prevents us from ever finding the true path to salvation, the path that could lead to genuine peace, which should be about universal justice, profound love, harmony among all people.
So if peace is just the consequence of one side winning, the quiet after a destructive battle, What kind of foundation is that for a truly just and harmonious society for you, for any of us?
Exactly. It's a peace based on absence, on destruction, not presence and construction.
Montessori calls this moral schizophrenia. That's a really strong claim. Some might argue it's maybe an overstatement, that human nature just has these conflicting impulses. Is she literally suggesting a form of societal delusion, or is there a more nuanced way to read schizophrenia here?
I think it's a powerful metaphor, meant to shock us into recognition. She's describing the profound moral chaos of our spiritual condition as a species, a deep psychological split.
A split how?
On one hand, we laud and heap praise upon scientists who discover deadly microbes and then courageously develop life-saving serums, right? Saving countless lives from devastating diseases.
Yeah, heroes.
But on the other hand, we give even greater recognition, more honor, to those who devise ever more sophisticated, more efficient ways to annihilate entire populations, weapons of mass destruction.
That's uncomfortable.
It is. The moral principles underlying these two cases, the profound value of life versus the means of its systematic destruction, are so utterly contradictory, so diametrically opposed, that she suggests humanity as a whole suffers from a mysterious form of moral schizophrenia.
So it points to, what, hidden forces?
Unwritten chapters in human psychology, she says. Unknown, dangerous forces within us. Forces that are largely unstudied, unacknowledged, and critically unregulated. It's a kind of societal delusion that we can hold these two opposing values without deep internal contradiction wrecking us.
And she argues that war isn't born from simple hatred, especially, when yesterday's enemy becomes today's ally, which happens all the time.
Right, it's not that simple.
Instead, it's a deeper, more profound flaw within humanity itself. People are simply, as she puts it, carried like dead leaves on the wind, swept up by forces they don't understand or maybe don't even acknowledge.
Precisely. She insists that the true causes of war aren't the obvious things, the social injustices, economic disparities, the immediate political triggers. Those are merely the exposed fuse,
Yeah.
the final, visible spark igniting the explosion.
So what are the true causes then?
Like a plague, she says, the true causes are hidden, complex, and deeply ingrained in our collective psyche. They require scientific investigation into our internal human forces, which remain largely unstudied and uncontrolled. Montessori states, powerfully, man, the master of the external world, has failed to tame his inner energies, accumulated over centuries and chaotically distributed among large human communities. This internal chaos, this unmastered spiritual and psychological landscape within us, that, for her, is the real breeding ground for persistent conflict, not just external factors.
She uses the Black Death to make an incredibly vivid and, frankly, sobering point here, comparing our misunderstanding of war to humanity's past ignorance about plagues.
It's a chilling parallel, and she goes into historical detail. She talks about the plague devastating nations across history, wiping out millions, fundamentally altering societies.
Yeah.
And in the profound darkness of ignorance, people attribute it not to disease vectors or microorganisms, but to evil individuals actively spreading poisons.
Really, like deliberate poisoning.
Yes. Dion Cassius described how, during the plague of 189 AD, villains were supposedly hired to shoot poison needles throughout the empire. During Pope Clement VI's time, when the Black Death swept Europe, Jews were massacred en masse, accused of spreading the plague through poisoned wells.
That's horrific.
Even during the siege of Naples, when 400,000 citizens died, almost the entire population, Neapolitans believed the French poisoned them, and the French believed the Neapolitans poisoned them.
It sounds absurd to us today, right? That a clearly contagious disease was viewed as murder, blaming individuals for thousands of deaths.
Completely absurd. But she asks, with this profound insight and challenge, does not something similar happen in relation to war?
It's true. And like with the plague, people consistently blamed individuals, the Kaiser, the Tsar, Rasputin, some assassin, not understanding the deeper hidden systemic causes.
Right, pointing fingers at leaders or specific events.
They flocked to churches, unknowingly spreading the contagion further, then celebrated when it ended, believing the trial was necessary and perhaps delusionally, the last one. It's this repeating cycle of misunderstanding and dangerously misplaced blame.
So our cures for war today, she suggests, are as naive and false as those ancient remedies for the plague. The alliances made before World War I, supposedly to create a balance of power and prevent war,
Yeah.
instead paved the way for even greater disaster by entangling so many nations in a massacre just based on promises and complex loyalties.
A domino effect.
Exactly. She argues even a global alliance to avoid war would remain blind to its true causes without scientific methods. It might even lead to a bigger, more destructive future conflict. Just as nobody discovered the true causes of the plague, the microbes, the rats, the fleas without scientific inquiry, we remain ignorant of war's true origins.
But once the causes of plague were understood through science,
It became manageable through hygiene, public health measures. She reminds us of the horrific scale, the plagues of Pericles, Marcus Aurelius, Constantine, Gregory the Great, the 10 million lives lost in China in the 10th century, the 25 million in Europe from the Black Death, far surpassing WWI casualties.
it's truly humbling, isn't it, that we, with all our modern knowledge, could still be making the same fundamental error about something as devastating as war, just because its true causes are hidden within us.
Montessori is challenging us to look inward, to apply the same scientific rigor to our moral and psychological health that we apply to physical diseases.
So if we, as individuals, once attributed a devastating disease to a poisoned needle rather than an invisible microbe, how might you, listening now, be misinterpreting the true, invisible causes of conflict in our world today?
It's a powerful question.
That's a powerful parallel. It seems she's arguing that just as a lack of physical hygiene fostered plagues, a profound lack of what she calls moral hygiene is fostering a deep spiritual illness in society today.
Exactly. She argues that society, in the moral sphere, is as backward as medieval people were regarding bodily hygiene. We just ignore the invisible threats to our moral life.
How so?
We often mistake superficial shifts in societal norms for genuine freedom or progress, what we often call virtue, duty, honor. In her view, they're merely masks for the main vices. Maybe a veneer of respectability passed down through generations that hides a deeper hunger for power, status, or material gain.
So like hypocrisy.
Or just deep self-deception. Modernity's supposed freedom, she says, is actually a moral swamp, a deceptive environment hiding a deep thirst for wealth and avarice, analogous to physical laziness and overindulgence.
A moral swamp.
It isn't just a minor issue. It's this slow, self-destructive process, silently eroding our spiritual health. Much like a stagnant swamp breeds disease without any obvious immediate cause.
And this moral chaos and spiritual decline, they manifest in what she calls a cunning madness, a moral paralysis, where our reason is just shrouded in darkness. People, despite possessing almost divine power mastering external forces, even the cosmos feel weak, worthless, and unhappy, experiencing this pervasive complex of inferiority.
That emptiness in people's souls, their profound lack of true joy, that, for Montessori, is the most frightening and diagnostic sign of our current reality. This void, like nature abhorring a vacuum, desperately seeks to be filled.
But filled with what?
Often it's filled with trivial pursuits, subtle poisons, privileges that hide deadly threats to the spirit. It's like a hidden, deadly form of tuberculosis slowly consuming a weakened spirit from within.
So our external progress hasn't matched internal growth.
Not at all. Our intellect has soared, allowing us to conquer the external environment. But the feelings, the moral development that should accompany such growth, are conspicuously absent, suppressed by a wrong way of life.
We've conquered the world, but not ourselves.
Exactly. We've become slaves to our machines, our material comforts, our own moral disarray. The answer, she suggests, lies in healing humanity, restoring the noble image of man as king of the universe, and making that the guiding star for individual development.
How do we do it?
Only by recovering our inner strength and purpose, our true spiritual joy, can we overcome this pervasive spiritual drought and build a foundation for peace.
It makes you think. How many of us, perhaps including you listening, secretly feel this moral paralysis or complex of inferiority in a world that offers so much, yet often leaves us feeling empty and unfulfilled? How many of our daily struggles or societal frustrations might just be symptoms of this deep spiritual drought Montessori describes?
It puts a lot of things in a different light.
Okay, so we've painted a fairly stark picture of humanity's spiritual crisis, this moral schizophrenia, this spiritual drought. It feels overwhelming, almost incurable.
It can seem that way.
But this is where Montessori offers a profound counterpoint. She directs us straight to the child, though, with the crucial warning about our deeply flawed current relationship with them. How do we even begin to heal, then, if the root of our problems is so deep within us?
Her answer is radical and unwavering. To restore the human soul, to truly heal humanity, we must start with the child.
Start with the child.
But not, she stresses, as a dependent being to be molded like clay, but as an independent personality with its own inherent nature, its own unique purpose, its own rich inner world.
So see them differently.
Completely differently. We must, in her words, believe in the child as a messiah, a savior capable of renewing humanity and transforming society.
That's a huge claim, Messiah, Savior.
It is. She argues we, the adults, are truly blind to the child's true, profound nature, while the child sees clearly, bringing in the small, bright flame of enlightenment that we, in our egoism and ignorance, often extinguish, sometimes without even realizing it.
And this isn't just about ignoring their needs, right? She describes a real and formidable conflict, an unending war, that meets the child from the moment of birth and accompanies them through their entire development.
An unending war.
Yes. It's the battle between the strong adult and the weak child. Or, as she puts it, between the blind, the adults acting without true understanding, and the seeing the child possessing an innate clarity.
This profound struggle, ongoing for countless generations, is only intensified in our complex, nervous modern society. The adult inevitably triumphs over the child, often just through sheer physical, social, or intellectual dominance.
They're the result.
When that child grows up, they carry the indelible marks of this post-war world, so to speak. Destruction of their true potential on one side and painful, often damaging adaptation on the other. They learn to conform, to suppress.
So the child can't refresh the adult world.
They can't lend their freshness, their renewing life force, their spiritual clarity to the fallen adult because the adult effectively becomes an enemy, crushing the child's spirit, suppressing their innate potential.
No, she's clear this isn't about blaming individual parents, right?
No, not at all. It's about recognizing a profound, almost invisible societal dynamic, a universal pattern of interaction that affects your children and, by extension, your future. It hinders their natural growth and the very evolution of humanity itself towards peace.
And this war also plays out profoundly, with devastating consequences, in traditional education. It shapes individuals in ways we often don't even recognize, leading to this kind of stunted spiritual growth.
She calls the traditional process of upbringing not just misguided, but a sacrilegious enslavement. Strong words again.
Sacrilegious enslavement, wow.
This ancient, superficial idea that human development is linear and uniform, and that the adult must mold the child according to predetermined societal expectations, that lies at the very heart of this conflict.
Between who?
Between those who should ideally love, protect, and guide each other, parents and children, teachers and students. It becomes a silent war. She states with stark clarity, if during this fragile and precious period the child is subjected to sacrilegious enslavement, the seeds of life will dry up.
Dry up, implying deep harm, not just to learning, but to their very essence.
Their potential, yes.
And when those precious seeds dry up, it doesn't just hinder, it actively damages and dries up the personality itself, she says.
Yeah.
Turning individuals into cogs in a blind machine rather than vibrant, self-directed beings. This isn't just absurd or inefficient. She condemns it as a crime and a sin to suppress and reject the moral voice, to obstruct the mind, and to condemn populations to ignorance by limiting their innate potential for self-construction.
And this suppression, this constant interference, it leads the child to instinctively pretend, to hide their true abilities, to conform to adult expectations, creating this kind of artificial self.
A survival mechanism.
Perhaps. This secret burden, this inner conflict, creates many human misconceptions. And it's here, in this internal struggle and the profound consequences of traditional upbringing, not merely in the cultural content we transmit, that the fundamental connection between education, war, and true peace really lies.
So the way we educate is key.
Critically key. The unlucky, weak, enslaved soul with arrested development. These are all fruits of this blind struggle of the strong against the weak. She observed that many behaviors commonly considered normal for children across all races and social strata, things like lying, disorder, tantrums, idle fantasizing.
Yeah, things kids just do.
Right. But she found they actually disappear when a child works in a prepared environment, which reveals that these are not inherent natural traits, but rather profound deformations or reactions to oppressive, unsuited conditions.
That's huge. So those behaviors aren't inevitable.
Not according to her observations. Think about your own schooling. Did it genuinely foster true individuality and cooperation? Or did it primarily encourage competition and conformity, implicitly suppressing your unique spirit? It's a question worth asking.
But there's hope. When children are given freedom within a specially prepared, responsive environment, they reveal astonishing traits. They consistently defy all our preconceived notions of childhood.
Indeed. Her work unveiled this profound truth. When we recognized the child's inherent worth and granted them freedom to develop in schools specifically designed for their spiritual and developmental needs, they revealed a passionate love for order and work.
Love for work.
A passionate love, yes, and intellectual abilities far surpassing what was usually attributed to them. The child's natural instinct to do things themselves, to clean, arrange, discover, repeat, master it, it leads them spontaneously to profound independence.
Like that famous quote.
Help me to do it myself. Or, as she also recorded, a child saying with surprising clarity and firm resolve, don't help me, don't hinder me, leave me alone.
It isn't rudeness, then.
No, it's the expression of an inner drive for self-construction.
This isn't just cute or a fleeting phase. It's a radical shift in our understanding of human nature. The child isn't lazy or aimless. They seek a precise inner goal with innate directness and an almost spiritual drive. And crucially, this free, self-directed activity heals all those mental deformations we talked about. It prevents them entirely. It's a natural, organic process of self-construction and self-healing.
Right. And this is where Montessori truly turns conventional wisdom on its head. We often assume children's bad behaviors, the lying, the tantrums, the inability to focus are just inherent parts of growing up.
Or things we need to discipline out of them.
Exactly. But Montessori discovered, through decades of meticulous observation, that these aren't natural traits at all. They are, in fact, deformations caused by an unsuited environment and adult interference.
So the environment is the problem.
Or the interaction with it. The real aha is that when a child is placed in a prepared environment, one that respects their developmental needs, provides engaging materials, allows freedom of choice, these behaviors simply disappear.
Gone.
Replaced by calm, concentrated, and profoundly creative activity. This demonstrated that the child's true character is entirely different from what had long been attributed to him.
And this held true across cultures.
Absolutely. A truth proven over 25 years of continuous work across incredibly diverse cultures, Native Americans, Africans, Siamese, Javanese, Lapps. The same transformation occurred.
Wow. Any specific examples?
Oh, plenty. Phenomena like the explosion of writing at age 4, where children spontaneously begin to rate complex things. Children able to solve complex math problems like cube roots at age 7.
Serious?
Yes. And young children repeating tasks, like inserting cylinders into a block over 400 times, driven by an inner quest for perfection, not for any external reward.
Just for the sake of doing it right.
For the sake of perfecting themselves through the activity. So, if we apply this lesson to society, what if your efforts to impose external order, to rigidly control things, are actually suppressing the natural, harmonious order that wants to emerge from within each individual?
That's a challenging thought. Well, that image of the child as a suppressed yet powerful builder of humanity is incredibly profound. Okay, now let's zoom out even further. Let's look at the grand stage on which this whole human drama is playing out. Montessori brings us to this mind-blowing realization about our modern world, something she calls the third dimension of human existence.
The third dimension, yeah.
Yeah.
She argues that in our current era, 2 things are absolutely necessary for humanity to achieve peace.
Okay, what are they?
First, a new man, a more perfect, more harmoniously developed individual.
Internally developed.
Right. And second, an environment free of artificial barriers to human aspiration. An environment where the immense sources of wealth and human ingenuity are available to everyone, not just one country or one group.
Universal access.
Basically, yes. We've reached a point, she declares, where humanity as one nation is not just an ideal, but a profound, undeniable reality. A physical and intellectual interconnectedness that transcends all the old boundaries and divisions. That is the third dimension.
Think about it. Humans have learned to fly, right? Literally transcending geographical and national barriers. No single state can claim exclusive rights to the sky or cosmic space or even the gravity that allows flight.
True.
Invisible waves carry human voices, thoughts, music, images across the globe at unimaginable speeds, creating this universal communication network that binds us all.
Radio, internet.
Yeah. Solar energy, providing life and warmth, knows no national borders. So what's the point of fighting over dwindling material resources when, as she puts it, man has mastered them as if God? and can acquire them through peaceful means, through collaboration and shared ingenuity.
Yeah, it's a powerful point. She explains that for thousands of years, the Earth was essentially two-dimensional for humans, constrained by land and sea, by borders, geographical
Right,
limits.
stuck on the surface.
But now we've literally entered a third dimension through flight, through advanced communication, through technological conquest. This effectively ends thousands of years of human history defined by those limitations.
It's a new epoch.
Absolutely. This conquest is so grand, so monumental, that it demands the unified effort of all humanity. United by a common purpose and indeed by love, she says, to realize its full potential. This is what she calls the supernature or superworld that humanity has created.
Supernature.
It profoundly transforms our social existence and renders old structures obsolete. We are, in essence, citizens of a great nation of humanity, possessing almost miraculous powers.
Like the ancient Romans saw themselves as citizens of a vast empire.
Exactly. We are now, whether we recognize it or not, citizens of a universal empire, of interconnectedness and shared destiny. Do you truly see yourself that way, as a citizen of this universal empire? Or are you still primarily bound by national borders and narrower interests? It's a fundamental shift in identity that Montessori believed was essential for peace.
Given this superworld where humanity is so interconnected and capable of such collective power, war makes absolutely no sense.
None at all.
It's not just immoral, it's an utter anachronism, a relic of a past dimension.
Her argument here is incredibly pragmatic, too. She states unequivocally that war has fundamentally lost its meaning and can no longer bring material gain for anyone.
How did she figure that?
The First World War, she points out, proved this definitively. The victors gained no new strength, no lasting benefits. Instead, the defeated became a burden and a disease for all humanity, requiring immense aid and support, contributing to global instability.
So winning didn't really mean winning.
Not in the long run. To destroy one nation, she argues, is like cutting off one's own hand in the hope that the other will become twice as strong.
Oh.
Because we are all, in this new reality, one organism, one interconnected nation. To harm one part is to harm the whole. Simple as that.
This is a radical reevaluation of national interest, isn't it? It means fighting over resources or security is not just morally objectionable, but utterly absurd, self-defeating in this new, globally interdependent reality.
Indeed. The interdependence of nations is evident not only economically, where goods and services flow across borders, creating shared prosperity, but also intellectually.
How so intellectually?
Any discovery, however small, becomes known globally almost instantly.
Yeah.
Like liquid in communicating vessels, she says. It spreads and benefits all. The old self-serving arguments for war, territorial conquest, grabbing resources, even suppressing another nation's genius, they're just invalid in this context.
So nations as we know them are obsolete.
Individual nations with their rigid borders and exclusive rights are becoming obsolete as the primary organizational structure for humanity. Communities will always exist, she acknowledges, but they must either unite as parts of a single organism or disappear under the weight of their own contradictions and outdated conflicts.
She gives an example.
Yeah, she points to Denmark's prosperity, achieved not through conquest or colonial power, but simply by producing and trading specialized, high-quality goods within this interdependent global system.
So in your daily life, listening now, do you recognize how interconnected your interests, your economy, your well-being are with people far across the globe? Does this profound reality change how you view conflict and cooperation? Does it move you towards a more integrated vision of peace?
It's meant to.
Yeah, but here's the profound paradox. Despite all this external progress, all these miraculous powers in this interconnected superworld, Montessori argues that humanity is simultaneously in a deep, pervasive spiritual crisis. There's this huge disconnect.
This disconnect is, for her, the defining characteristic of our time, the astonishing gap between a rapidly developing external civilization and the alarmingly low level of internal human development. It's barely risen from ancient times, she suggests.
We have rockets, but maybe caveman emotions.
Something like that. Man has achieved so much, could be so rich in every sense, yet remains deeply poor and profoundly unhappy. He is, in her words, a bewildered homunculus, a miniature man, full of contradictions, not even knowing if he's truly rich or poor, healthy or sick, living in this constant state of anxiety, fear, internal fragmentation.
People are exhausted, disjointed, like grains of sand in a desert, she says. There's a desperate drought of the spirit, a profound lack of true joy, a hidden emptiness permeating society.
Hmm.
This, she argues, explains why, despite having almost divine powers to shape the world, man complains he is weak, worthless, and unhappy. It's a cry from the soul.
Our intellect has soared to incredible heights, right? Unprecedented scientific and technological advancements. But the feelings, the moral compass, the spiritual fulfillment that should accompany such growth are conspicuously absent.
Why? What happened to them?
They've been suppressed, she argues, by a wrong way of life. A societal structure that prioritizes external achievement over internal development. We've conquered the external environment with astonishing success, but not ourselves.
So we're slaves to our own progress.
We've become slaves to our machines, our material comforts, our own moral disarray, driven by external forces rather than internal purpose. We are, in her powerful analogy, chronically self-poisoning, finding superficial pleasure in subtle poisons and privileges that hide deadly threats to the spirit.
Like what?
Like a hidden, slow-acting tuberculosis slowly destroying us from within. She uses this story of a prince who marries a common woman.
Okay.
She becomes a princess, lives in a magnificent palace, but doesn't truly appreciate its treasures or her new status until she's educated, until her inner eye is opened. Civilized society, Montessori concludes, is like the prince's palace, and humanity is like the common woman. The princess needs to be educated. That's the whole point. It's about learning to truly appreciate and live within this super world with a developed inner life.
Does your life, listening now, despite its comforts and advancements, sometimes feel this spiritual emptiness, this disconnect between what you have and how you truly feel? Does it hinder your own sense of peace?
It's a very personal question she forces us to ask.
Okay, so if humanity is indeed sick with this moral schizophrenia and profound spiritual drought, and the child holds the cure, what then is the ultimate role of education in bringing about this new, truly peaceful world that Montessori envisions?
Montessori unequivocally states, and this is really a central thesis for our deep dive today, education is the best weapon for peace.
The best weapon.
The best.
Oh.
But she quickly clarifies that this education cannot remain within its current boundaries or its antiquated forms. Our current schools, she warns, are hopelessly behind the real needs of the era.
How far behind?
Fighting, as she dramatically puts it, with bows and arrows against a world of cannons and bombers. This striking image highlights the utter inadequacy of traditional education in preparing humanity for the complex moral and social challenges of the modern world.
So just teaching reading, writing, arithmetic isn't enough?
Not nearly enough.
Hmm.
And it's not enough, she argues, to simply forbid toy weapons or remove war stories from textbooks in some superficial effort to promote peace.
Right. That feels kind of surface level.
It is. That's merely the negative side, trying to prevent bad things from happening. Education only tries to prevent war, but does not create peace, she explains. It's like trying to scare away a cloud without sowing rain.
You need to actively create peace, not just avoid war.
Exactly. This kind of reactive, prohibitive education is fundamentally ineffective. If it worked, she points out, wars would have stopped long ago, given centuries of religious and philosophical teachings about love and brotherhood. True peace requires something far more profound and active.
Which is?
True peace, a positive and lasting state of human flourishing, requires what she calls a positive process of investigation and deliberate construction.
Building peace actively.
Yes. Constructive education for peace, therefore, must not be limited to formal schooling. It demands the conscious collective efforts of all humanity to transform man from within, to allow for the natural inner development of personality, fostering empathy and global consciousness.
So it's a societal effort, not just a school thing.
Absolutely. It means consciously educating people to recognize their material interdependence and common goals in this superworld. Or else, she warns, they are doomed to self-destruction. The focus must radically shift from merely transmitting inert cultural content to actively developing the individual's moral, spiritual, and social capacities, making them architects of peace, not just products of conflict.
So if you listening truly desire peace, what active role are you playing in this grand task of education beyond just sending children to school? Are you part of this positive process she describes?
It's a call to action for everyone.
This is the core of her message, and it's profoundly revolutionary, especially when you consider how children have often been seen passive recipients, burdens, incomplete adults. She asserts that the child is not just our hope, but the true creator of humanity.
The creator of humanity. It's a truly profound reframing. We must, she insists, recognize the child as a spiritual embryo.
A spiritual embryo.
Yes, a being endowed with an active psychological life and delicate instincts that unerringly guide them on the path of creating their own unique human personality. Since the child becomes the adult, they are, quite literally, the true creator of humanity.
So the future is literally built by children becoming adults.
Exactly. And we, the adults, must honor them as the father of our race, she says poetically. The great mystery of our origin, the blueprint for a better humanity, lies hidden within the child. Through them alone can the laws leading man to his true peaceful state be revealed.
She calls the child the forgotten citizen.
Asserting that the century of the child must, for the sake of human survival and flourishing, replace the outdated century of the adult. This isn't just sentiment, it's a scientific observation about the engine of human progress.
This means children aren't passive receptacles to be filled by adults, or clay to be molded.
Not at all.
Instead, the adult must be a servant of creation, not a dictator. What a paradigm shift. This turns our traditional understanding of authority, guidance, the very nature of development completely on its head.
Completely. The conflict between adult and child, then, is not just a pedagogical error. It's a deep social problem that actively prevents humanity from evolving towards its higher potential.
How do children show us this?
Children, by consistently revealing their true, harmonious nature in prepared environments, can tell us to radically change education. Make it practical, experimental, scientific, rather than theoretical and rote. We must see them as full individuals with sacred social rights, not just physical bodies in their early dependent years.
She connects this to other rights movements.
Yeah, she compares the child's plight to that of slaves, women, workers throughout history. Just as women had to advocate for their recognized place and rights in society, so too must children, or rather, we must advocate for them.
Which raises that important question. What if our love for children, if it's without understanding their true nature, without respecting their inner guide? What if it's actually hindering them?
Hindering them, and by extension, hindering humanity's progress towards peace. It's a tough one.
Montessori insists she didn't create a method in the usual sense. She often disliked that term. So what is it then, if not a rigid set of rules or a curriculum to be followed?
She explains it's a method based on the psychic development of the normal child. Rather than starting from adult-dictated programs, it rigorously follows the child's deep soul, their intrinsic developmental needs and urges, which were previously unrecognized by science or society.
And she uses that analogy.
The beautiful and highly insightful analogy of an unpolished diamond. It's key to understanding her entire approach.
Explain that.
The adult's role, she insists, is not to create the jewel, not to dictate what the child should become, or to imbue them with qualities they don't possess.
So what is the adult's role?
It's to remove the surrounding material, to clear away the obstacles, the dust and dirt that obscure the diamond, and allow its inherent brilliance, its perfect light, to be revealed.
The potential is already there.
Exactly. The child, in this profound view, already possesses this inner perfection, this complete blueprint for their being. Our task is essentially one of humble service, to unveil, not to mold, to prepare an environment, not to dictate the process. This directly challenges centuries of educational thought that saw children as needing to be filled or corrected or made into something, rather than recognized for who they already are.
So it means creating an environment that precisely responds to the child's spiritual and intellectual needs, where they can act freely, find their own motives for creative activity, and engage with adults who genuinely understand the laws of their life without interfering with excessive care or dictation or forced activities.
Exactly. In such a prepared environment, the child transforms profoundly and consistently. They become industrious, observant, incredibly thorough, capable of deep and sustained concentration, self-discipline.
Self-discipline without being forced.
Yes. And they possess a remarkable love for silence and order. This isn't because adults direct their every step or offer rewards. It's because the child, in direct contact with reality and with the freedom to choose their activities, is allowed to apply their own efforts, driven by an inner compulsion.
So they don't just play superficially.
They work with intense purpose. And in this work, they find their deepest happiness and developmental fulfillment. For instance, we've observed children meticulously polishing a piece of metal. After achieving perfect shine, they repeat the action multiple times.
Why?
Not for an external goal or adult approval, but for their own inner perfection, for the satisfaction of mastery.
Think about a task you deeply enjoy, listening now. A hobby, a craft. Isn't the joy often in the process itself? in the self-directed effort and the mastery, just as it is for the child. Doesn't that bring a profound sense of peace within?
It taps into something fundamental.
That makes perfect sense. So it's not just about changing our minds, it's about physically building a whole new world for children, a supernature designed for their development at every stage of their growth.
Precisely. The traditional four walls of the classroom are far too restrictive for older children. Beyond elementary age, they need to go out into the external world to explore it,
To do what?
to engage in real social activities, to produce, sell, work. Not about forced labor or just learning a trade for a future job, but about making direct contact with life,
Yeah.
understanding how society functions, and participating actively in building the supernature of human society.
So connecting learning with real purpose.
And real-world contribution, fostering a sense of social responsibility that is absolutely vital for a peaceful world.
She even suggests that arts and crafts, often lost in mass production and the frantic pace of modern life, they should be entrusted to the young.
Yeah, allow their creative spirit to flourish. This would provide not only practical skills, but also nurture their love for beautiful things and their connection to purposeful, meaningful work.
She calls the period from 12 onwards. What was it?
The period of the desert, echoing Christ's withdrawal into the desert before his great mission.
What does that mean?
It's a crucial, often misunderstood, time for reflection, self-discovery, and preparation for one's great mission in the world. Young people desperately need this space and opportunity, not just to be rushed through endless, often irrelevant, schooling for a good job.
Because that ought to enlist them.
Lost. Ill-prepared for social life, devoid of a deeper purpose. She sees movements like Scouting as an example of tapping into children's innate need for real effort, practical engagement, social contribution outside conventional institutions.
So, how might your community create opportunities for young people to engage in meaningful social contribution, fostering their sense of purpose and preparing them for a peaceful world rather than just preparing them for a paycheck?
It's a challenge to our current structures.
Montessori's call isn't just for educators to rethink their methods, it's a profound societal revolution. She envisions something truly radical, a concept she termed a party of the child.
This is perhaps her most audacious political proposal. A party of the child. Not merely a metaphor, but a legitimate social and indeed political movement,
A real political party.
or at least a powerful lobby, to defend children's dignity and ensure their rightful, honored place in society. This implies concrete political and social action on a grand scale. She argues that children should have specific representatives in legislative bodies.
Representatives for kids?
Yes, and a dedicated ministerial post for childhood, which she renames the Minister for the Protection of Humanity,
Wow. Elevating the child to the level of protecting humanity itself.
placing them at the absolute core of national priorities.
And the core idea here is that society must finally acknowledge that children are citizens with inherent rights from conception, not just when they're old enough for school.
Exactly. All social progress concerning adults abolishing slavery, establishing women's rights, recognizing workers' rights, all addressed injustices, but completely ignored this most fundamental injustice to the child, treating them as mere property, unfinished beings, dependents without agency.
The forgotten citizen.
Precisely. Until we correct this greatest of all injustices, Montessori argued, all other efforts for peace and social progress will remain incomplete, superficial, and ultimately doomed to fail.
Why?
Because the child, she concludes, is the shining sign calling us forward. Not just a symbol or an abstract ideal, but the only path to a truly peaceful future.
The only path.
This means a double path. Every act and law for adults must have an analog in the social life and laws for children. From the design of our homes, the objects we create, and most critically, the recognition of their fundamental rights. It's a call for a fundamental restructuring of society around the child's true nature and needs, establishing a foundation of justice and respect that can then extend to all humanity.
So, if you were to vote for a party of the child, what specific changes would you demand in your society to truly put children first? Not just in words and rhetoric, but in deeds, policies, the very structure of governance, building a truly peaceful world from its roots.
It forces you to think very differently about politics. Hashtag shag tag outro.
So what does this all mean for us? As individuals, as a society striving for peace, we've journeyed through Montessori's profound and, let's be honest, often challenging insight.
Definitely challenging.
From the moral schizophrenia of a society caught between valuing life and actively destroying it, to that silent war between adult and child that subtly yet profoundly shapes our very souls. We've seen how a new, interconnected superworld demands a new man to match its immense potential, and how education, when reimagined from the child's perspective, is the absolute key to unlocking this transformation.
It really is a total reorientation, not just of our schools, but maybe of our entire civilization towards a deeper, more enduring kind of peace.
This deep dive, I think it shows us that peace isn't merely a political aspiration, subject to the whims of treaties and power dynamic.
It was more fundamental,
It's more like a scientific principle rooted in the fundamental laws of human nature and development. It requires this profound fundamental shift in our perception.
away from seeing the child as a passive recipient to be molded,
Right.
and towards recognizing them as the Messiah, the teacher of peace, endowed with these immense yet often suppressed creative and moral energies.
So the task before us then is to cultivate these energies by consciously creating an environment where the child can truly flourish.
And in doing so, lead humanity to become one nation in a truly peaceful and harmonious world. It's the child who leads the way.
It's an incredibly powerful vision. It suggests that the path to a harmonious global society isn't found in grand declarations or military might or even in adult-driven negotiations,
Important as those might seem sometimes.
but in the quiet, profound, consistent work of recognizing the dignity and potential of every single child. It's a call for us, the adults, to empty ourselves, maybe of our ego and preconceived notions,
Like that.
and allow the child in their natural state to guide us towards a future built on love, productive work, and genuine peace. It's about understanding that the human spirit, when allowed to develop naturally and unimpeded, intrinsically leads to a harmonious and unified society.
So if, as Montessori suggests, the child is the most religious being, the most neutral, the one who embodies pure love and the instinct for constructive work, then perhaps the greatest act of courage you can perform today isn't to fight a war or even campaign for a political solution,
What is it then?
but to truly listen to the child, to defend their inherent rights, and to actively build that super nature for them within your home, within your community.
It starts small, locally.
It has to. What would your world, your nation, your community look like if every decision, every policy, every act of education and governance began with that fundamental question? What does this mean for the child? How does this foster the growth of the future peaceful human being?
A lot to think about, isn't it? This deep dive has only scratched the surface of Maria Montessori's revolutionary ideas on building a peaceful world.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
But hopefully it's given you some powerful nuggets of knowledge to chew on and perhaps even to act upon. Until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep striving to be well informed.